A passenger plane carrying 181 people crashed this morning while landing in South Korea's Muan International Airport. At least 177 people are confirmed to have died. Now, for more on how this accident could have happened, we're joined by Paul Charles. He's an aviation analyst and CEO of the PC Agency. He joins us from the Cotswolds in England. Mr. Charles, a bird strike, well, that's been flagged as a likely cause of the crash. We really do underestimate how deadly bird strikes can be to airplanes, don't we?
Yes, of course, there has been another high-profile incident involving a bird strike in recent years, which was the US Airways crash when the pilot, Sullenberger, actually had to land it on the Hudson. It was called the Miracle on the Hudson River. So it's not unknown to have bird strikes cause major incidents. In that particular case, luckily, nobody died. In this incident, if it's true that it was a bird strike that caused this, and clearly the investigators will need to do their work over the coming days, then there still are some unanswered questions about why the plane came into land without its landing gear, without the wheels down. Now, it could be that the bird strike, of course, caused a total electrical malfunction of the aircraft, but still the pilots would have been able to release those wheels in some way, albeit, of course, there would have been enormous pressure in the cockpit at that point just before they landed.
I want to ask about the technical aspects of it and just the model in general, because we're talking about a Boeing 737-800. It's widely used. It's meant to be I wonder what's the track record like for this particular model?
It has a really good safety record. There are some 200 airlines in the world which use and still fly the Boeing in this particular case. And the 737-800 really is flown. There are about 4,000 of them still used, about 15% of the total number of planes flying in the world at the moment. It's generally seen as the workhorse of short-haul flying. So on short hops, under 5 hours, this is the plane that a lot of carriers will rely on and which we'll use. And it's not made anymore. It was stopped in about 2020 or so and replaced, of course, by the 737 MAX, which has had its own issues. But overall, those in the sky have a really good safety record. And I think the investigators, now they've found the black boxes in the tail of the plane, they will want to be looking exactly at what led to this incident, if there was a bird strike, and then the communications following that.
Absolutely, because where would you advise investigators to focus on? Because clues ultimately will boil down to what is found in the black box, bearing in mind that they have not found the voice recorder just yet.
That's right. There are two black box recorders. One is a voice recorder, which will show the communications between the pilots themselves in the cockpit and the ground as well. And the other, obviously, is the data recorder, which has been found, which will indicate what all the electrical functions of the plane were doing at the time of the crash and in the build-up to the crash. I think if there was an airstrike, and always it's important not to speculate, you have to let the investigators do their work. But early indications from passenger messages, obviously from the plane, suggest there was some sort of bird strike which hit one of the engines or one of the wings in some way. Now, that could have led to a total collapse of the electrical infrastructure on the aircraft, which meant that the crew were not able to successfully bring that plane in. But we have to let the investigators do their work and discover if the engines were at fault in some way or there was another mechanical issue which was exacerbated by the bird strike itself, if that happened.
Well, the government, acting President Choi Sang-mok, he's come out to say he's calling emergency meetings, Jeju Air, announcing it will also cooperate with the government in investigations. What are the next steps for authorities? Where do they need to be focusing on? And how can we expect the situation to develop from here?
Well, there are a number of issues. First of all, what was the communications like from the control tower at the airfield itself, at the airport at Muan? Because it seems that the aircraft had already tried to land initially and was then told, obviously, to take a different approach because of birds in the area. So the government will want to know what were those communications like from the control tower itself. Secondly, the aircraft, which seems to have a really good safety record, that particular aircraft, which was about 15 years old. It previously was flown by Ryanair, an Irish-based airline, low-cost carrier as well. And so everyone will want to know exactly what the track record of that particular aircraft, its maintenance record, was like over the last 15 years. And then crucially, what's the role of Boeing here, the manufacturer? Boeing, of course, has had its own issues in recent years, and is still intensely investigating the Alaska Airlines incident earlier this year when a door came off the plane mid-flight. So Boeing, which itself has recently changed its CEO, will want to be actively involved in this investigation so it can help authorities in South Korea.
Really appreciate the context you've given to this developing situation. Many thanks to aviation analyst Paul Charles, who's joining us live from the UK.